Hello everyone. I welcome you all to this lesson. Today I am going to start with an introduction of Merchant of Venice. Yes, dear children, this is a wonderful drama written by the legend William Shakespeare. So here I begin. First of all, I will give you a brief introduction about the author William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare was born in 1564 in the little English town of Stanford. He married at the age of 18 years Annie Hathaway, who was 8 years older to him. He had 3 kids. Susanna was the baby girl and the twins were Hamnet and Judic. He wrote many poems and plays. His first poem was Venus and Adonis in 1593 and his first play was Love's Labor Lost. His last poem was Sonnet and his last play was The Tempest. He wrote 37 plays. He died in Stratford on 23rd April 1616. Now I'll give you a brief introduction about the story Merchant of Venice. Merchant of Venice is a 16th century play which was written around 1596. This play is classified as a comedy, but it is most remembered for its dramatic scenes. The story of Merchant of Venice is divided into 4 parts. The first part is the Bond story. The great fact of the Bond story is Antonio's escape from Shylock's revenge. Number 2, that is the second part, is the casket story. The great fact of the casket story is Bassanio's winning the hand of Portia. She is the cause indirectly of Antonio's sufferings and directly of his preservation. The third part is Lorenzo and Jessica love story. Love and friendship is the main theme of the play. Love is between Portia and Bassanio, Nerissa and Gratinio, and between Lorenzo and Jessica. The main friendship is between Antonio and Bassanio. Antonio risks his life for friendship. Bassanio and Gratinio are ready to sacrifice their new love for saving Antonio. The fourth part is the ring episode, where laughter and entertainment is seen in the play. There is a foolery of Lancelot, raillery of Gratiano, and the wit of Portia, polished and refined. There is also the comic embarrassment of the rings. Shylock becomes a comic figure, running about the streets crying, "My ducat and my daughter." Thus, 4 parts are the 4 threads that make up a design. The Merchant of Venice gives us a fairy tale-like atmosphere. The play has color, romance, adventure, and excitement. Evil is punished and its victim lives happily. There are flashes of romances and exotic living. Ships laden with spices sailing on the ocean, a rich heiress with the world at her feet, marriage by strange ways, dazzling suitors, gondolas sailing in canals, a sinister villain crying out for justice, a battle of intellect in the court, women disguised as men, merry lovers listening to music in the moonlit gardens, all associated themselves with fairy tales. Now, dear children, you must be finding it difficult in understanding the play Merchant of Venice, and it is very natural. Shakespeare's language is more than 400 years old. So, this language is quite old and understanding it is not an easy job. So, in order to make you acquainted with the play, first of all, I will give you a brief introduction about all the characters of the play. So, here I begin. There are 20 characters in total in the play, leaving the minor ones. Now, let us see all the characters of the play. Number 1, Antonio. He has his two friends, Salerio and Solonio. Number 2, Bassanio, who is the best friend of Antonio. His friends are Gracino and Lorenzo. Bassanio's servant name is Leonardo. Third one is Portia. She is a rich heiress of Belmont. Her two suitors' names are Prince of Morocco and Prince of Aragon. She is having three servants named Nerissa, Stephens, and Balthazar. Number 4, Nerissa and Gratino, they get married. Number 5 is Dr. Bellero, who is the cousin of Portia. Then next is Duke of Venice. Then Tubal. Tubal is a friend of Shylock. Then comes Lorenzo. Lorenzo is in love with Jessica. Jessica is the daughter of Shylock, and Jessica loves Lancelot. Lancelot and old Coco is the servant of Shylock. So these are the 20 characters in the play. Now I will explain to you the character of each one from the play. Number 1, Antonio. Antonio is an influential, powerful, wealthy, and a rich merchant of Venice. He is a middle-aged man. His large argosies sail on the seas with rich silk and spices. He is not worried about his venture. He feels secure, but when the news of the loss of the ship arrives, he is unable to pay off his debt to Shylock. He becomes bankrupt. Antonio is highly esteemed by all. His selfless generosity is admired by all and sundry. He is the kindest gentleman ever seen. He is associated with ancient Roman honor. He loves Bassanio truly as a friend. He lends money gratis, which is the source of annoyance for Shylock because it brings down the rate of usury. He has lent money to his best friend many times. Antonio is melancholic in nature. He has no penchant for living as is seen in the court scene. He is passive. He is lonely, suffering from lack of emotional fulfillment. He lives only for Bassanio. Antonio is not free from the Christian prejudice against the Jews. Even he, a noble man, has often cursed the Jew. Shylock calls him a dog, spat on his Jewish gabardine. He briefly tells the latter that he is likely to call him a dog in future and also to spit at him even when he himself has come to the Jew to borrow money. This shows the merchant in a bad light. It is an insolence. This is the only fault of his character. He is intolerant and unjust and racially prejudiced. He is, after all, a creditable human being with common human weakness. Number 2 is Bassanio. He is the best friend of Antonio. He is a handsome, extravagant young man and the closest and the dearest friend of Antonio. He is fond of luxuries, living or borrowed money. He has wasted all his stay. He appears to be a mercenary, out to marry a rich lady so that he may inherit all her wealth. He seems to be a fair-weather friend who always sees Antonio for money, but later his depth and sincerity come to the fore. He also develops true love for Portia. He shows intelligence in the matter of choosing the right casket. Although Bassanio is money-minded, but it is love which makes him give and hazard, all for Portia's sake. His choice of right casket is the result of his inborn heroism. His love for Antonio is equally profound and sincere. He tries to dissuade his friend from the terrible bond. He almost forgets his wife in the vehemence of his protestations of love for Antonio. He has a merry nature. He is carefree, young nobleman. He is so generous. He is not a mere fortune hunter, but a good human being whom both Antonio and Portia loves immensely. Now the third character is Lancelot Gobbo, is a quick-witted young fellow who is originally Shylock's servant. His humor is not of a very high order. It is mostly farcical in nature. He is a lover of luxuries and comforts. He likes to eat well, dress well, and sleep. He leaves Shylock's service because he is famished there. He takes up service with Bassanio, who gives splendid liveries to his servants. He plays a rather cruel practical joke on his father. He first tells him that his son is dead and then kneels before him with his back towards him. He makes the wrong use of the words and the wrong construction of sentences. For example, he uses exhibit for inhibit, fructify for certify, reproach for approach. Lancelot's attempts at palmistry are equally mirth-provoking. He examines his own palm and says that he will have 15 wives. His and old Gobbo's conversation with Bassanio is also amusing. Jessica likes him because of his foolery. He acts as a messenger of love and carries letters to Lorenzo from Jessica and vice versa. He is an integral part of the play and enlivens the tragic gloom. Number 4 is Shylock. He ranks as one of the most perfect characterizations in drama. We see him in his family, in business, in civil relations, in religion. His actions with regards to Antonio has several motives. He cannot tolerate the Christian merchant. He is a usurer while Antonio lends money gratis. Antonio has always insulted him. The motives of greed, racial enmity, and personal revenge are admirably blended in his character. Shylock is an antagonist and a tragic character living in Christian city. He is shown as greedy, jealous, and vengeful character. The Jew seems to love money more than anything else. He hoards and accumulates money. When Jessica disappears with his cash and jewelry, he weeps more for his ducats than for his daughter. His treatment of his daughter is very harsh. Shylock is cunning, crafty, and bloodthirsty. He pretends that it is a merry bond and that he has no intention whatever of enforcing it. Once Antonio is in his grip, he displays a deadly spirit of revenge, and in spite of the appeal of the Duke, Portia and others, he does not relent. He is tyrannical to his daughter, fanatical and revengeful, but he is also shown in a pathetic light. His famous speech, "Hath not a Jew's eyes?" is a vindication of the Jews as it sums up the injustice done to the entire Jewish race. He feels a certain tenderness for his dead wife, which raises him in our estimation. He has an intense love for his Jewish religion. He does not love his daughter less, though he loves his money more. Even his fairest desire for revenge has solid reasons. He is more sinned against than sinning. We really pity the man. It is noteworthy that in his plots for the ruin of Antonio, Shylock shows finer skill than any of the evildoers in Shakespeare's other plays. Shylock maintains his superiority in argument in the court, unmoved by insult, till disappointment leaves him nothing to fight for. He has checkmated and held at the bay the whole state and legislature of Venice. He is defeated by a legal quibble. In his defeat, there emerges a sense of suffering. We know that he has been wronged. At last, he touches our sympathy. He is no longer a villain to be hated. He is the one character in The Merchant of Venice that people most often remember because he is striking, original, and many-sided. Now, the fifth character of the play is Portia. Portia is a rich, beautiful, intelligent heiress of Belmont. She is the mistress of a landed estate. Bassanio compares her to Cato's daughter, Brutus Portia. The Prince of Morocco refers to her as a shrine. As a mortal breathing saint, Jessica holds that the world hath not her like. Portia represents a perfect balance and harmonious combination of many, even opposite qualities. She overflows with a gay mirth and yet has the quality of high seriousness. She is a woman of high intellect. She is the ideal combination of intellect and romance. She is equally unwavering in her obedience to her father's will and in action by which she saves Antonio. Although she is impatient with the restrictive will of her father, she is unflattering in her adherence to it. She judges the worth of her suitors correctly. Her clever plan of going to the court is the crowning proof of the powerful intellect. Portia has a poetic imagination. She possesses a capacity for tender and romantic love. When Bassanio is about to choose the casket, her heart trembles with anxiety. When he has made the correct choice, she surrenders herself to him, heart and soul. She is modest and unassuming. She wishes to be better than she is for his sake. Portia has a keen sense of humor. She is at the back of the intrigue of rings. Her gaiety, playfulness, and mirth clearly emerge in the last act. And yet, she is not always playful. When the news of Antonio's ruin is received, she displays a great deal of anxiety. In the trial scene, she is at her best. Portia's generosity is proved at the fact that Portia's friends are welcome at Belmont. She offers to pay 20 times the money borrowed from Shylock. She assumes the disguise of a lawyer because of her dashing nature. Portia is essentially a feminine. The head and the heart have equal sway in her character. She loves Bassanio deeply, but she is not controlled in her love. She is not uncontrolled in her love. She is just a good maiden, ought to be in her expression of love. Her self-surrender is more remarkable as she is in every way intellectually as well as materially. Bassanio is superior. Her feminine nature is also seen in the quality of Mercy's speech. There is nothing immodest in the masculine disguise she assumes. It is an expression of her true love for her husband that she goes to the rescue of his friend and not any masculine traits. Portia is sane and balanced. She can pass with perfect ease from gaiety to seriousness and vice versa. She is cultured and refined and is fond of music. She is indeed the beauty of the play as Shylock is its strength. Now the sixth character of the play is Jessica. Jessica is the daughter of Shylock, a Jewish moneylender. She is very beautiful. She has prowling charm. We cannot agree with Lorenzo that she is wise. Rather, she seems to be frivolous. The way she squanders her father's money is scandalous. She gives away her mother's daughter's ring for a monkey. She might be true in her love, but she is not true to her father, her religion, and her race. Jessica is deceitful, extravagant, ungrateful, and disloyal to her own father. She is the contrast to Portia in this matter. Jessica stabs her father in the back of eloping with the Christian, and secondly by stealing his wealth, which is his life and living. Jessica also lacks the delicacy and modesty of Portia. Her love makes her bold and imprudent. Both she and Lorenzo have artistic tastes. They love music and enjoy the beauty of nature. She has her faults, but we can say in her defense that her home has been a hell to her when she is denied all freedom and pleasure. Life in such a home would be intolerable for anyone. She may be excused if she revolts and elopes with the man she truly loves. Now number 7 is Salerio. Salerio is a friend of Antonio and is well-connected merchant of Venice and a dear friend of Antonio and Bassanio. Owing at least one ship, he is convinced that worry about merchandise is the root cause of Antonio's melancholy. With Gratanio, he helps Lorenzo abduct Jessica, but does not know where the two runaways have gone. He seems to be very worried about Antonio's investment, as he is deeply fond of man and scared of Shylock, though completely unapologetic about his role in Jessica's flight. He was sent to Belmont by Antonio to let Bassanio know of his bankruptcy and of Shylock's insistence on the payment of the pound of flesh, and begs Lorenzo and Jessica to accompany him in the task. Number 8 character is Salenio. He is a friend of Antonio, who once mercantile concerns are dismissed as a cause of the man's melancholy, leaps on love and the reason why. He hopes to cheer up Antonio, but is worried about him, particularly after witnessing Shylock's mad raving in the street about the loss of his money and daughter. He does not like the moneylender in the slightest, not least because he is thoroughly anti-Semitic. He follows Antonio when the latter is trying to reason with Shylock and cannot believe that the bond will be followed through. Number 9th character is Gratanio. He is a friend of Bassanio, who accompanies him to Belmont. A coarse and gracious young man, Gratanio is Shylock's most vocal and insulting critic during the trial, while Bassanio quotes Portia. Gratanio falls in love with and eventually weds the Portia's lady-in-waiting, that is, Nerissa. My 10th character is Lorenzo. Lorenzo is a friend of Bassanio and Antonio. Lorenzo is in love with Shylock's daughter Jessica. He schemes to help Jessica escape from her father's house, and he eventually elopes with her to Belmont. My 11th character of the play is Leonardo. He is one of the Bassanio's servants. He is sent out to do some shopping for his master when the latter receives the money from Shylock. My 12th character of the play is Prince of Morocco, a Moorish prince who seeks Portia's hand in marriage. The Prince of Morocco asks Portia to ignore his dark countenance and seek to win her by picking one of the 3 caskets. That caskets reflects Portia's beauty and stature. The Prince of Morocco picks up the golden casket, which proves to be incorrect and a wrong one. My 13th character of the play is Prince of Aragon, an ignorant Spanish nobleman who also attempts to win Portia's hand by picking a casket. Like the Prince of Morocco, however, the Prince of Aragon chooses unwisely. He picks up the silver casket, which gives him a message calling him an idiot instead of Portia's hand. My 14th character is Nerissa. Nerissa is Portia's lady-in-waiting and confidante. She marries Gratinio and escorts Portia on Portia's trip to Venice by disguising herself as a law clerk. My 15th character is Balthazar. Balthazar is Portia's servant, whom she dispatches to get the appropriate materials from Dr. Pelero. My 16th character is Stefano, is a servant of Portia. He announces her return to Belmont, supposedly from her religious retreat. My 17th character is Tubal. He is a Jew in Venice and is one of Shylock's friends. My 18th character is Dr. Pelero, a wealthy Paduan lawyer, and Portia's cousin. Dr. Pelero never appears in the play, but he gives Portia's servant a letter of introduction needed for her to make an appearance in the court. My 19th character is Duke of Venice, the ruler of Venice, who presides over Antonio's trial. Although a powerful man, the Duke's state is built on respect for the law, and he is unable to help Antonio. My 20th and the last character is Old Gobbo, Lancelot's father, also a servant of Venice. He is an old man, blind and not confident, with long words. He wishes the best of his son, Lancelot, to the extent of bringing gifts to the young man's master. He accepts to help Lancelot and begs Bassanio to take him as a servant so that he may leave Shylock. So, dear children, I hope all these characters are well versed to you and you have traveled through the drama of Merchant of Venice. Now, going through this introduction to Merchant of Venice, hope you have understood the lesson in which I had discussed about the author, about the story, which I have divided it into 4 parts, and the 20 characters forming the character sketch of this wonderful play. So with these words, I end my lesson. Hope it will be beneficial for you in your studies. Thank you.